Welcome back to our 32 for 32 NFL preview series, and we are going to Charm City. We're going to get ourselves some crab cakes, Brett, natty bows for everybody. We're talking Baltimore Ravens football, and the Ravens had a really, really good year a year ago, but there's always that but. And I would say prematurely for a lot of Ravens fans. 14-2 AFC North champs. Ooh, then the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a disappointing performance. But yes, the home of was that Charm City Cakes too? Isn't that the guy Duff?
That's Duff, I believe. Yep.
And the Pit Beef.
Yeah, the Pit Beef and Jimmy Seafood. All these guys send us a few shekels here for dropping their names.
Just don't eat the pizza at the ESPN zone.
Yes, don't do that. Don't throw away the cups in the stadium. They don't have escalators. Maybe they do now. Maybe they do now. No one will be there, so it doesn't matter. And, home of the Great American Bash, if we're going to tie it back to In the Fight.
That is true. The Great Baltimore Arena, or whatever it's called, the First Mariner Arena.
It's now the Royal Farms Arena.
Oh, really?
Yes, they have changed the naming right.
Interesting.
Yeah, let's get into it. We're talking Ravens. As we said, 2019 record, 14-2 AFC North champs. There was some pretty good movement for them, some additions that I think are going to really help them out. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look first at the acquisitions, even though they only had 4, I would say that pretty impactful, starting obviously at the top there with Calais Campbell. They traded with the Jaguars. Calais Campbell, is just a top defensive end, defensive tackle. I think is really going to wreak a lot of havoc with the on the Baltimore defensive line. So I think that was a really good pickup. Then on the bottom there, speaking of the defensive line, they also picked up Derek Wolfe. I think they wanted to get a little bit more physical, a little bit nastier, particularly in light of how they lost against the Titans. And obviously, I guess as this is related, you look at the departures with Michael Pierce, Chris Wormley, really good players, but I really would tend to say that Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe just have a nastier attitude, I think, or even a little bit more stout against the run, which I think would be beneficial if you're going to see the Titans again at some point down the line. DJ Fluker is coming in and going to be amongst several candidates to try and replace the retired Marshall Yanda. Jake Ryan's going to provide some linebacker depth. And again, going to the departures, Brandon Carr is a little bit, long in the tooth. Hayden Hurst is one of the many tight ends they had. They actually managed to fleece the Falcons into giving them a second-round pick, even though Hayden Hurst himself was a first-round pick, didn't really pan out. The fact that the Ravens were able to get a second-round pick for him, I think, was really impressive. Tony Jefferson, again, a little bit longer in the tooth. Marshall Yanda was really a great guard. You see down there who retired. I don't think he's quite a Hall of Famer, but was a perennial Pro Bowler in the peak of his career, and really was a great Raven, and really enjoyed watching him as a guard. Very good player. In terms of the COVID opt-outs, DeAnthony Thomas was their kick returner. I do wonder if at some point they may look at another former kick returner of theirs in Janarian Grant, Rutgers' own. He's obviously right now up in Canada, I believe, or he was.
He was.
I wonder if maybe they'll give him another chance at some point. And then Andre Smith, former first-round tackle, was going to provide some depth. So obviously they'll miss out on that. But all in all, not completely devastating with respect to their 2 opt-outs.
No, I really like what they did defensively, and it's scary when you think about it. The Ravens, since their time moving to Baltimore, has always been very centered around defense.
Yeah.
And obviously, Ray Lewis, those guys, Haloti Ngata. I like what they did on defense with the acquisitions, especially Calais Campbell. The fact that they could be nastier, and we're going to get to that here in our questions, that's really scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, Calais Campbell's the kind of guy. So he left. They traded Jacksonville Jaguars traded him away, and it made all the sense in the world because Jacksonville's rebuilding. Baltimore is one or two pieces away, and those are the type teams that trade for savvy veterans like Calais Campbell. So it made a lot of sense. Didn't give up too much
at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, and he's also a tone setter. I
Yep.
think he's going to fit in great with that defense. It was just, it just seems like the Ravens always make the right moves,
They do.
and even though they're not winning every year, they're always in contention. They're always competitive.
Mhm.
Even when they're rebuilding and they're not that good, you sort of see where they're going. You're like, okay, I get it. I see the path.
Right.
So it's just it's a really well run organization.
And it's amazing that they have been, it seems like, for their entirety of their run in the city of Baltimore.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of heat that the ownership, old ownership, and Art Modell for what happened in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And they weren't very well run, but you move over to Baltimore, you get East Coast living, Mid-Atlantic, it changes your mindset a little bit.
I guess timing is everything, right?
Yeah, let's get to it. I really like their draft. This is Harbaugh is going to really have some fun here, is the way I look at this thing.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that when we did the draft recap, this is one of the drafts that I said stood out to me. Starting right at the top, Patrick Queen, linebacker. I mean, they drafted between Patrick Queen and then the third round pick, Malik Harrison, two starting linebackers, and both complement one another. Patrick Queen being more of the pass defense, sideline to sideline guy, and then Malik Harrison being the downhill thumper to stop the run, which again, if you look at how they lost against Tennessee from a defensive perspective, they got smacked in the mouth a little bit. And a guy like Malik Harrison is definitely going to do a good job at counteracting that. J.K. Dobbins is a really good running back for Ohio State. He's definitely going to fit in well with the unique running game of Baltimore. Justin Madubuike from Texas A&M is a very very athletic defensive tackle who I think, particularly now that he's going to be paired with guys like Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe, who were longtime veterans, are going to show Madubuike how to get it done. I think, they're going to basically just serve as additional coaches. Devin Duvernay from Texas is a speedster, will help pair nicely with Marquise Brown and Miles Boykin on the outside. Tyre Phillips and Ben Bredesen are guys who I think are going to help compete along the offensive line and provide depth. And Ben Bredesen, in particular, I think might be one of the candidates to replace Marshall Yanda. Him or DJ Fluker are going to battle it out. And even in the sixth round, I believe it's James Prochet. He was considered to have the best hands of any receiver in the entire draft. Obviously, a little bit limited physically, but I mean, the key of being a wide receiver is to have good hands. So, I mean, to get that guy in the sixth round, it was just a great draft, which I feel like you could say every year about the Ravens, and it's and they really complement how this team is built right now.
It really is a testament to how they do things, that every year you're having this conversation that they draft so well.
Yeah.
It is a model for the rest of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great draft.
So let's get into it. Let's get to our 4 burning questions of the Baltimore Ravens in 2020. We kind of alluded to it already, but were the Ravens exposed in the playoffs?
Well, I would say, defensively they were, because it showed the way to get to them was to be more physical. The key question is, did the Titan defense expose the Ravens, which was put everyone in the box and make Lamar Jackson beat you only with his arm? And I think he's going to have to do that in the first several games of this season in order to get guys to really respect the passing game and back off and back out of the box. Because otherwise, defensive coordinators are going to continue to flood that box with 8 and 9 man, excuse me. And it's going to be really tough for Lamar Jackson and those running backs to find running lanes. So it definitely, I think the challenge has been, the gauntlet has been thrown down, and this is what the Ravens are going to have to do in the first several games, is really establish their passing game beyond just throwing to their tight ends. They got to throw to the receivers.
We're going to talk offense. How does the retirement of Marshall Yonda hurt the Ravens?
It definitely hurts them. All those running lanes we were talking about, he was one of the main guys opening them up, and they have a really good offensive line. 2 stout tackles. Yonda was one of the really good guards. Again, though, I think DJ Fluker, if he could stay healthy, really is a very similar kind of offensive guard, downhill run blocker, kind of a masher. I mean, this is just a gigantic human being. I think he's got like a size 20, 21 shoe, something like that. Just a huge guy. So I think that he will fit in well with Orlando Brown and Ronnie Stanley. Then, as I mentioned, they also drafted Ben Bredesen from Michigan. I don't think either of them are Marshall Yonda level, but I think they can get away with a combination of the two.
Question number 3, and this is this defense better than they were a year ago?
Yeah, I really think so. You have Earl Thomas is going to be his second season in that system. And I think the addition of Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe along that defensive line, you got the speed of Patrick Queen, the physicality of Malik Harrison. Yeah, I think and you still have Matt Judon, who's going to at least be there for one more year on the franchise tag. I think this defense is definitely better.
That's scary when you really think about it. Because they were really good a year ago. And to become better.
Isn't it weird? It seems like sometimes, the few elite teams just get better. And, like some of the crappy teams just continually stay crappy. It's amazing to see, that difference. And just the rich continue to get richer.
Well, it's about the model, right? I went back and said that the Ravens model for almost 20 years now, 20 plus years, has been so successful. And teams try to duplicate it. They try to take executives away, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
They have it down to a science. And some teams choose to ignore it. Some teams try to duplicate it. It's one of the things. Often duplicate it. Often imitate it, never duplicate it. Right? Often imitate it, never duplicate it.
Yeah, you got it.
Question number 4. Does J.K. Dobbins hurt the Gus Edwards future with the Ravens? And we're running this back to Rutgers because we're Rutgers guys, and there's not many Rutgers guys in the pros right now that didn't come from the Greg Schiano teams of the 2010s, of the aughts, So what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's funny. The moment J.K. Dobbins was drafted, I think it was like I had 2 quick initial thoughts. First was like, man, just good pick. And then I quickly was like, shit, that really hurts Gus Edwards' future. I mean, this definitely limits his touches because you're going to have Mark Ingram there. And so I think it's going to be Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins as 1 and 2. Gus Edwards, I'm hoping they're going to keep him still on the roster. Because look, he's done very well with that Ravens offense the last 2 years.
I mean, he's a perfect kind of fit for what they do.
Yeah, although you wonder now with the physicality that J.K. Dobbins brings and Ingram and Gus Edwards, if they're going to want to keep more of a third down back. And because of that, he might be expendable, which really sucks. So, I'm hoping, that he has – it sucks. I'm hoping he has a good training camp.
Yeah,
it's not like he's not even going to have a good preseason.
You can't even flush this out in the preseason. You got to flush this out in the training camp. It's going to be a new scenario. It's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about it as we move on here at the close of our 32 for 32 NFL preview series. We will have our big prediction show, and we'll know by then where Gus Edwards is or is not, and how we're going to predict the Ravens finish out the year. If you're enjoying these 32 for 32 previews, we appreciate you watching. Drop a subscription on the YouTube channel, throw up a thumbs up and a like, drop a comment, tell us where you're watching from. If you have a podcast that you're a part of, let us know there too. We always like to work with other groups, other people. I'm Mike, that's Brett. We'll catch you down the road. Stay safe.